Good evening, beautiful people, and welcome back to another episode of the Deep Culture Podcast. This is your host, Fatli, once again, and I hope you guys are doing well back at home. And for those of you who are still at work, stay safe and travel home safe as well. As you can see, today's episode is a little different. We don't have a guest with us tonight because, due to some unfortunate circumstances, had to be postponed. So because of that, it was tough because this is kind of last minute, but at the same time, I think it also gifted me a chance to reflect on what episode I could do on my own, and I think that's where it's a gift in a way. And upon a lot of reflection, I was thinking that it's been actually 15 episodes. In this one will be the 16th episode of the podcast that we're doing, and that's roughly about almost 4 months of podcasting consistently, and that's about as consistent as I've been in anything in my life, right? So maybe it's time to do a bit of reflection on what the podcast has been so far, what we want the podcast to be, or rather, and what I want the podcast to be, and how I can elevate this podcast to the next level. Because, for me, this podcast is all about being real. It's about being authentic. That's why we call it the deep culture. And things have been great. I think the support has been great. The levels of views and streams have been wonderful. But at the same time, it's also about how can I grow the audience? How can I grow the impact of what we're building here at the Deep Culture family? And so this has given me a chance to share my thoughts, the feedback that I've gotten from a lot of you, and I appreciate all the feedback and the support that you guys have given, and to see how we can take this to the next level. So I want to start off with sharing with you the fact that these last 15 episodes have been a life-changing experience for me. I thank all of you guys out there who have streamed, who have listened, who have viewed the videos, and especially also to the guests who have come on to support us in this process, because I've learned so much from it, and I hope that the streamers and the viewers have also learned just as much from them. Their willingness to come out, to be raw, to be authentic, to share their own perspectives on different subjects that some may be not controversial, but some may be a little sensitive. So thank you very much for all the support for both my streamers, viewers, and for the guests as well. A big thank you. So today's episode, I'm going to try and keep it pretty short, right? I'm not going to drag it on because it's just me. I don't know how entertaining I can be, right? I want to be real here. The reason why I'm not doing a solo podcast is because I maybe have a self-image where I'm not very entertaining. So that's why I have guests and I ask them questions, right? So let's see how this one goes. It's a little uncomfortable to be doing this on my own. As you can see, it's in the office as well, and I'm all alone in the office talking to myself, basically. Or at least I think I am all alone. But anyway, so what do we want to do with this podcast? I think that's the big question here. After 15 episodes, how do we want to elevate this podcast, and where do we want to take this podcast towards? Now, a lot of feedback has been given over the last couple of weeks, and especially from my social media manager. For those of you who don't already know Manisha, who was the first guest in my first episode, I actually engaged her to help me out with a little bit of social media content. So in terms of the Facebook and in terms of the Instagram, and she's been doing an amazing work. But we also recognize that there have been certain problems, there have been certain issues. And because of that, we have to look at how we can overcome these challenges, whether it's in terms of engagement, whether it's in terms of the type of content that we want to create, whether it's in terms of drawing in more followers for the Facebook group or for Instagram, right? And subscribers for the YouTube as well. Which reminds me, if you're watching this on YouTube, please click the subscribe button, like and comment down below. And if you're following us also on Facebook, drop a like and comment down as well if you think that this is a good episode. Yeah? All right. And also on Instagram as well. See, I'm not really good at this. It's a bit nervous. It's a bit nerve-wracking for me. But I try. So those are the three main platforms that we're on. And how do we take it to the next level? Now, upon digesting a lot of this feedback and discussing it with Manisha and other friends and followers of that we have, I think it basically comes down to two things, which I want to address in this episode as well. And the first one is, what really is this podcast all about? Right? Because I've gotten a lot of feedback over the last couple of weeks where they're a bit confused by the title, Deep Culture, but also more importantly by the type of guest that we're bringing on. Now, firstly, let's address the title, Deep Culture. When I decided to call it Deep Culture, the reason behind it was because I wanted to create a culture in this podcast episodes where it's about going deep. It's about discussing topics that are deep and gives you the raw, authentic understanding of the person and the situation itself. So, and that, to find that out, you can't just scratch the surface of topics. You have to go deep. And that's where I thought the term deep culture was really attractive in my eyes. And I understand that there has been a little bit of confusion with people thinking, culture, is that about Singapore's culture? Is it about the racial culture that we have here in Singapore? Or maybe it's a corporate culture? I mean, there are so many different types of interpretations out there. But I just wanted to say and highlight again that the reason why it's called deep culture is because in most of our episodes, we go deep with the guests. Right? We want to ask them deep questions to understand and not just scratch the surface of the topic that we are discussing with them. And that's the main reason why it's called deep culture. Now, to address the second part, which is the type of guest that we're bringing on, a lot of feedback has also shown that there's a bit of confusion with, sometimes it feels like we're heading towards the business side of things. How can you start a business? How can you be an entrepreneur? How can you be successful doing marketing? And then maybe 1 week or 2 weeks later, we dive into, for example, fatherhood, or into interracial marriages, or into nursing as an occupation. And so we have two very different kind of contents that we're coming up with here. And I think that confuses a lot of people. And it even confused me, to be honest, at some points, because I'm still in the development process of doing this podcast as well. Like I mentioned in my own episode, I never thought I'd have my own podcast show. And this is all a learning stage for me. So all I know is that when I started this, I wanted to develop a podcast show that highlighted individuals who do inspiring things in their lives, and to share that with other people so other people can also get inspiration from those experiences, so that they can also go on to do inspiring things with their own lives, whether it's fulfillment or success, whatever it may be for their own individual preference. So that was the goal when I initially started this. But I guess it's now time to really focus down on the type of guest that we're going to have, but more importantly also the type of theme that we want to have for deep culture. And that brings me to this question I have to you guys, my viewers, my supporters of the Deep Culture family. What do you think should be the slogan or the catch title of Deep Culture? So Deep Culture is the title, but at the moment the tagline is with Fadli. And that's me, but I think that's where the problem lies. It's with Fadli doesn't give you an overview of what the whole podcast episode is generally about. It just means that it's with me. But people need to see the title Deep Culture and have that tagline tell them what is it really about. And that's where I'm hoping I can get your help, your feedback. If you guys could have any ideas, share them in the comment section below. At the same time, I've also come up with 3 taglines that I'm considering at the moment, but I'm not quite convinced yet that these are the final ones. But I'll be putting them up in the poll on YouTube and on Facebook. So let me know what you guys think. And And then drop a comment below to see which ones you think are the best taglines. And if you have your own, please share it with me, all right? So the first one that I have is everyday people inspiring stories. So deep culture, everyday people inspiring stories. Do you think that that's a good one? I went with this tagline because I think that really kind of represents what I've been doing, in that I'm getting people from all walks of life to come on and share their own inspiring experiences, their own inspiring stories with us. So I thought this also encapsulates both the business aspect of things and the personal aspect of things, because I want to do both. I'm not sure that I want to let go of either, because both inspire me very much. So I want to be doing both, and I think that the line everyday people inspiring stories kind of gets there, right? But that's just the first option. The second is inspiring conversations for dream chasers. Now, I know some of the guests, the content and the discussions that we had may not necessarily be for dream chasers, especially the personal lives ones, but I think it's about gaining inspiration from these conversations that we've had, even with people for sharing their personal stories. So what are the inspirations that you're gaining from the little conversations that we're having here? So that's number 2. And number 3 is discovering moments of inspiration. As simple as that. So deep culture, discovering moments of inspiration. And the reason why I have this in this list is because I think in the overarching view of things, that's what I'm hoping this podcast will bring to you, the streamers, the viewers, the supporters. It's basically that I'm sharing with you my ideas. I'm sharing with you my questions that I have in my head, but more importantly, the guests are also sharing with you their experiences on how they've achieved something in their life or how they've overcome something in their life. And from there, it's about now, how can you take inspiration from their experience? How can you take inspiration from their mistakes, right? And that's the thing about inspiration, because you gain inspiration most of the time, not all the time, but most of the time, you gain inspiration from watching what others are doing. You take inspiration from learning from other people's mistakes. And why this is so important to me is because I feel like a lot of the people around me seem to fall under the illusion of a rat race life, or a life that is routine, and it becomes stagnant, right? There's no life in their eyes. And I don't want to be that kind of person. And I want to spread that kind of movement where it's about creating something in your life that you are driven, that you are happy, that you're inspired with. And that's where I hope that through these episodes and having these guests on, I find inspiration through their stories, through their experiences. And I hope that if you as the viewers and the streamers also listen to this and gain inspiration from it, so that you can also say, hey, maybe I can try doing that in my free time, maybe I can do art, maybe I can try take up nursing as an occupation, maybe I can try, what else is there? Dating interracial couples, talking to interracial couples, whatever it may be, dating somebody else outside your race. I think that's what I meant. But what else is there? So yeah, I mean, it's about taking inspiration and going out there to do and dare to be doing something different that makes your life that much better, whether it's something inspiring or whether it's achieving something and being successful in it. And so that's where finding or discovering moments of inspiration's tagline comes about. So let me know what you think about these 3 options, and if you think you have come up with one of your own, do drop a comment down below, and I'll be happy to hear it and consider it. And we'll probably release the result in next week's episode, when we do come up with a proper tagline. I hope to, by then at least. All right. So that's one of the main feedbacks that I received, that there's no real theme, and I hope that this tagline issue will give us a theme to work on with the guests that come on, so that people who have a view at the artwork or listen to the title Deep Culture, they know what the theme of the podcast is. All right, so moving on to the second episode, second feedback, and that is, what is the call to action of this podcast? What is the purpose of this podcast? Now, as I mentioned, it's all about sharing stories and experiences to help you gain inspiration, right? The streamers and the viewers. It's about helping you find inspiration from these people, from these guests. But what I've come to find through a conversation with my dear cousin, who really showed me an insight into this, is that inspiration is just the first part of any kind of movement or any kind of thing that you want to do, right? It's just the first part. Gaining inspiration is the first step. What needs to be done is the call to action. What are you going to do after finding that inspiration? Because a lot of people just say, hey, that's an interesting idea, but they don't do anything about it, right? And that's most of us, at least, right? So it's about now, how do we get this movement to go from getting inspired to taking action? And I think that's a really good point, because all I've been doing in the podcast lately has been also the fact that, join the Facebook group, click subscribe, follow us on Instagram, support us on Anchor. But these are not movements that is going to be helping you. In fact, it's only going to be helping me. And what that made me realize is that I want to be doing the opposite. The intention of this podcast was to help you gain a movement. So upon a lot of reflection and discussions with the people around me, I think here is the movement or the call to action that I want the streamers, the viewers of the Deep Culture family to take action on. I want you guys to find something meaningful to do in your life, right? I don't want you guys to be just like every other people out there who have to lead a routine day-to-day job and start to feel jaded, start to feel frustrated in their life, and they see no point. Because I don't think that's what life is about. Life is a lot more to offer you than just having to pay your bills, than just having to go to work, and just surviving, for example, here in Singapore or wherever you are all around the world. It's about finding experiences that you can really cherish and relive in your memories and have a blast while you're still alive, right? And I think that is a call to action for you guys. Find something within these episodes. It may not be in today's episode. It may not be in the last 5 episodes. It may not even be in the last 15 episodes. But hopefully it will be in one of the forthcoming episodes. Find something that you relate to. Find something that you are interested in. And take action upon that. And move towards that. And find some clarity and joy in living. I think that's the key here. Because a lot of the frustration, I think, just comes down to having to be in a routine and not finding that sense of fulfillment in your life. And for me, at least, the fulfillment comes from speaking to people, from learning from people, meeting new people, sharing different experiences. That's what makes me feel fulfilled. And the fact that I'm able to share that with you through this podcast is what makes me even feel more fulfilled and joyous. And that's why I've been doing this for the last 16 weeks or so. Because as I mentioned, I'm hardly ever this consistent, but with this, it seems like a different story. So that's my push to you. That's my call to action, my fellow streamers and viewers, my Deep Culture family. Find something that you're passionate about, that you're interested in, and take action to do it. And I'm going to be reminding you to be doing that. And that's at the end of every episode, because like I said, it's about what are you going to do with this inspiration that you gain, right? So I'm going to be pushing you. And that's also the movement that I want to make. If you guys, the Deep Culture family, want and seek a support group, people who are like-minded, people who want to achieve and fulfill this goal of having a fulfilling life, please join our Facebook group so that you can be part of the network that helps one another to achieve that goal. We are all in this together. We are all looking for inspiration. We are all looking for different resources to share their experiences, their stories, their learnings, their mistakes, whatever it may be. But when you have that support group, it always becomes that much easier, right? So if you want to be part of this deep culture family, if you want to have support in achieving your dreams, join our Facebook group and seek out the help, or just ask and get to know people so that you can gain inspiration from them within that group, right? So yeah, I think that about addresses these two things. So moving forward, it's about having a tagline. That's one. And the second is about a call to action for you guys. So on my part, what I'm gonna do as the podcast host is I'm also gonna be having to figure out getting the type of guest to come on that can inspire you. What kind of content are they gonna share that can get you to take a call to action, right? And it's not just about sharing stories anymore. Now there's an end product. It's about a call to action, and I think that's important. And yeah, so that's about it. I mean, come on, guys. You guys know me. For most of you guys who are following, I think you guys know me by now. I'm a simple guy. I'm a regular guy. And all I'm doing here is that I'm just trying to do what I can with the life that I have and with the resources that I have to help others out there. This is not my full-time job, but it's something that I enjoy doing. And I hope that through this, I can inspire you guys to do the same with your lives, whether it's getting it as your main job or as a part-time job or as a hobby, whatever it may be. As long as you find the same kind of joy that I feel when I'm doing this, the same kind of perseverance, determination, passion to do these things, because that is what really makes life amazing, guys. Right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this short episode. Let me know if you think that there are things that I can improve on, because I know there's always something to improve on. Let me know your feedback as well about dropping in the poll or which tagline that you want, or if you have your own, drop it in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe as well, and just continue finding inspiration, guys. All right. So with that, I think a big thank you to everyone for listening, and I hope to see you guys on another episode of the Deep Culture Podcast. I'll see you guys next week with the results, guys. Have a good weekend.